Some people spend their entire lives looking for themselves as if who they are is hiding in the mountains or buried beneath the ocean floor. They wait for a moment of sudden clarity, a magical discovery where everything makes sense. But the truth is, life isn't about finding something that's already there. Life is about creating what has yet to exist. You don't find yourself like you'd find a misplaced set of keys. You build yourself like a craftsman building a home from the ground up. And just like any structure, it doesn't come together in a day. It takes effort, materials, time, vision, and above all, intention. Searching is passive. Building is active. When you're searching, you're hoping life gives you something. When you're building, you're telling life what you've decided to become. Too many people wait for the world to hand them their purpose. They wait for the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect moment to show up and give them direction. But those who understand how life really works don't wait for the moment. They create it. They take what little they have and start laying the first brick. They pick up a book and start reading. They wake up early and develop discipline. They take care of their health, manage their money, and take control of their thoughts because they know this is how builders operate. You can't create a meaningful life without becoming intentional about it. If you want to live with purpose, you need a plan. Builders don't just show up and start hammering random nails into the wall. They start with a vision. They sketch it out. They consider the tools they'll need, the resources, the time it will take, and then they go to work. Most people don't live like this. They live reactively. They wake up and respond to whatever the world throws at them. And by the time the week is over, they've built nothing. They've reacted a lot, but they've created nothing. That's what happens when you're always searching. You become a wanderer instead of a worker. You keep asking, who am I meant to be? Instead of answering the better question, who am I willing to become? Life rewards the builder, not the searcher. You want more income, build more value. You want more confidence, build more discipline. You want more peace, build a life that's aligned with your principles. You can't buy these things at a store. You can't sit on the sidelines and expect to be handed a blueprint. You've got to get into the arena and take ownership of what you're creating every single day. Your actions are the hammer. Your habits are the nails. Your mindset is the blueprint. And every decision you make is a piece of the structure you're putting together, brick by brick, day by day. This shift in thinking from searching to building is what changes your direction. Searching focuses on what you lack. Building focuses on what you can do with what you have. You stop seeing limitations and start seeing raw materials. You stop complaining about the weather and start laying the foundation anyway. Builders don't need perfect conditions. They need only a commitment. They need the will to begin and the discipline to continue, even when the results are slow, even when the progress is invisible, because that's how creation works. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. It doesn't always feel rewarding at first. But when the structure begins to take shape, when you look back and realize who you've become, not because you found it, but because you built it, that's when life begins to feel like it was always meant to be this way. Character isn't something you're born with. It's not a family trait or a lucky gift passed down through your bloodline. Character is built, refined, and shaped through consistent effort and discipline. You are not the finished product of your environment. You are the sculptor standing in front of the raw stone that is your potential. And every action you take, every habit you choose, every value you stand by is another stroke of the chisel. Some people wait for life to reveal their true nature as if it's hiding inside them like a secret waiting to be unlocked. But those who understand the deeper truth know that character is not found. It is forged. You don't discover strength. You build it. You build it in moments when quitting seems easier. You build it in the silence when no one is watching and you choose to do the right thing anyway. You build it when you make promises to yourself and keep them even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Character is not what you say you believe. It's what you repeatedly do. And it's those repeated actions that become the mold from which your future is cast. If you want to live a powerful, fulfilling life, you must take responsibility for the person you're becoming. Not someday, not when life slows down. Now, because every day, whether you realize it or not, you're chiseling away at the block. The only question is, what are you shaping? No one wakes up one morning with integrity, discipline, courage, or resilience. These traits are earned like muscle is built through resistance, through pain, through repetition. You build them by facing discomfort and choosing growth over ease. You build them by showing up even when motivation is nowhere to be found. You build them when you keep pushing forward while everyone else has stopped. That's the difference between those who let life shape them and those who shape their own lives. Life will hand you the hammer if you don't claim it for yourself. And when life is in charge of the sculpting, the results are rarely what you desire. Your character determines the quality of your decisions. It influences the way you respond to failure, how you handle success, how you treat people who can do nothing for you. It decides whether you lead with humility or arrogance, with consistency or convenience. A weak character will crumble under pressure, but a strong one becomes stronger because of it. And the strength doesn't come from reading about it or talking about it. It comes from doing the hard things when nobody else will. It comes from saying no to temporary pleasure in favor of long-term principle. It comes from being honest when lying would be easier. It comes from giving your best even when you're tired, even when you're unrecognized, even when there's no applause. If you don't deliberately choose to sculpt your character, the world will do it for you, and the world doesn't always have your best interest in mind. Culture will tell you to chase what's fast, easy, and comfortable, but character is rarely built in comfort. It's built when you choose patience in a world that demands speed. It's built when you act with kindness in a world that rewards cruelty. It's built when you stand firm in a world that changes with the wind, and building it takes time. You don't shape your life in one decision. You shape it through thousands of small ones that either strengthen your foundation or weaken it. When people admire greatness, they're not admiring talent alone. They're admiring discipline, consistency, resilience, and authenticity, traits that come from years of internal labor. They're admiring someone who made a decision long ago to take control of their own sculpting. And that's a decision available to every person. No matter your background, your upbringing, or your current circumstances, you can choose the type of person you want to become. You can choose what you stand for, how you act, what you allow, and what you don't. You can choose to become a person whose character speaks louder than their words, whose actions define their identity, and whose legacy is built not on what they found, but on what they created. It's easy to blame the environment. It's easy to point to where you were born, the family you grew up in, the school you attended, or the job you didn't get. It's tempting to believe that your life is limited by the neighborhood you lived in or the setbacks you experienced. But the truth is, while your environment may shape your early view of the world, it does not control your destiny. What truly determines your direction in life is the quality of your decisions. The power is not in the place you come from. The power is in the choices you make in response to it. People come from difficult environments all the time and rise to incredible heights. Others come from favorable environments and fall into mediocrity. So what makes the difference? It's not the conditions, it's the decisions. You can come from poverty and decide to become financially disciplined. You can grow up around negativity and choose to develop a positive mindset. You can be surrounded by limitations and decide to live with vision. Your circumstances don't lock you in. They reveal the opportunity for you to rise. The moment you realize that your environment isn't the author of your future, you take back control of your life. You don't have to wait for your surroundings to improve before you improve yourself. Growth is not reserved for those in the perfect city with the perfect mentors and the perfect education. Growth begins the moment you decide that where you are is not who you are. You don't need better weather to get started. You need a better decision. You don't need a bigger audience to start creating. You need to choose courage over comfort. Most people never rise above their environment because they let it define what's possible. But those who make a real difference, those who leave a legacy, are the ones who made powerful decisions in powerless environments. The question isn't where you started. The question is where you're going and what you're willing to do to get there. You don't get to choose where you begin, but you absolutely get to choose whether you stay there. And every day you are writing your story through your actions. You can choose to read the same chapter over and over, or you can decide it's time to turn the page. Every powerful life is built on a moment when someone said, I may have come from here, but I'm not staying here. That moment is not fueled by motivation. It's fueled by a decision, a firm, committed, non-negotiable decision to create a better future. You have to be more loyal to your decisions than you are to your environment, because your environment will test you. It will tell you that change is too hard, that people like you don't succeed, that this is just how it is. But your decisions have the power to silence those voices. When you decide to wake up earlier, to invest in yourself, to break generational cycles, to speak with integrity, to act with purpose, those decisions begin to carve a path through whatever limitations your surroundings try to impose. You can live in a dark room and still choose to light a candle. The room doesn't decide the light, you do. Your life is a series of small, daily decisions that either align with your values or betray them. Each choice is a vote for the type of person you want to become. And that vote is far more powerful than any environment you were raised in. Environments can influence, but they don't have to dictate. You may have grown up in a place of scarcity, but you can choose to live with a mindset of abundance. You may have experienced rejection, but you can decide to walk with confidence. You may have been underestimated, but you can choose to rise above every label, every limitation, and every low expectation placed on you. Not because the environment changed, but because you did. When you take full responsibility for your decisions, you no longer give your environment the power to define you. You start designing your future with intent. You stop waiting for the world to give you permission. You stop hoping for the right conditions. And you start leading yourself. That's where transformation happens. In the space between your circumstances and your choices. In the space where your environment whispers, you can't. And your decision says, watch me. There comes a point in every person's life when they must choose between blame and responsibility. And that choice makes all the difference. Most people go through life pointing fingers, blaming their past, their parents, the economy, their boss, the timing, the government, or the lack of opportunity. But blaming never builds, it never transforms, it never empowers. Blame is a defense mechanism. It might feel good in the moment because it removes the pressure from your shoulders. But what it also removes is your power. You can't create a powerful life while handing away the steering wheel. Power only shows up when responsibility is claimed. Responsibility means you own it all. Your results, your mindset, your habits, your energy, your outcomes. Even when it wasn't your fault, you still own your response. Because while you can't control everything that happens to you, you can always control how you show up to face it. And in that choice lies your freedom. In that choice lies your strength. People often misunderstand responsibility as burden, but in reality, it is the beginning of transformation. Once you accept that no one else is coming to fix your life, you realize you don't need them to. You've had the tools all along. You just needed the mindset to use them. When you accept full responsibility, you shift from victim to creator. You stop saying, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do about it? That simple shift moves you from being at the mercy of life to being the author of it. Taking responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. It means you refuse to let anything outside yourself dictate the direction of your life. It means you stop waiting for someone to give you permission. It means you stop needing perfect conditions. It means you wake up every day knowing that your attitude, your actions, and your focus are under your control, and that's more than enough to start building something extraordinary. The people who rise, the people who grow, the people who achieve what others call impossible. Those people took ownership before it was popular. They showed up before they felt ready. They cleaned up the messes they didn't make. They made the call, had the hard conversation, stayed disciplined when no one would have blamed them for quitting. because they understood something others didn't. They understood that responsibility is not the enemy. It's the gateway. It's the doorway to impact, to confidence, to strength, and to freedom. When you avoid responsibility, you stay small. When you embrace it, you expand. You rise. You unlock what's been waiting inside you all along. No one stumbles into a life of power by accident. It's a conscious decision to stop running from yourself and start facing yourself. And that decision has to be made every single day. You're not responsible once and done. You're responsible in every choice you make, what you eat, how you speak, who you spend time with, how you treat others, how you spend your time, and how you manage your emotions. Every one of those choices is an act of personal leadership. And when you lead yourself well, you begin to lead your life well. The truth is, responsibility isn't something you carry. It's something you claim. You claim it when you stop making excuses. You claim it when you take ownership of your mistakes without justifying them. You claim it when you stop blaming your past for the way you're choosing to live today. You claim it when you stop hiding behind what happened and start building what's next. The more responsibility you accept, the more power you unlock. Because now, you're not depending on the world to change for you. You're changing yourself for the world you want to create. There's a difference between being controlled and being in control. People who avoid responsibility are always controlled by something. Circumstances, emotions, other people's expectations, fear, laziness, pride. But the ones who take responsibility, even when it's hard, are the ones who walk through life with authority. They don't wait for motivation. They don't beg for sympathy. They don't need permission to act. They simply make the decision, take the action, and move forward. They may not have all the answers, but they know the answer always starts with them. Power does not arrive. Power is built, and it is built by the hands of those who have the courage to own everything that's within their reach. No one becomes wiser by waking up one morning and discovering they've changed. No one becomes stronger, more disciplined, or more capable by accident. Growth is not something that happens while you're asleep. It is not handed out like a gift. It is not discovered like a lucky coin on the side of the road. Growth is intentional. It is designed. It is built with purpose, brick by brick, day after day. And those who grow consistently are not lucky. They are deliberate. They made a decision long before the results ever showed up. They committed to the process even when the outcome was invisible. You can't coast your way into excellence. You can't drift into mastery. Every inch of progress you want in life will come at a price, and that price is consistency. That price is focus. That price is being willing to invest time into things that no one else sees. Growth doesn't come from information alone. You can read every book, attend every seminar, and listen to every podcast, but until you apply, practice, reflect, and adjust, you remain the same person you were yesterday. Knowing is not growing. Growing is doing. And doing with discipline is what separates those who change from those who just talk about change. Too many people wait for the right time to start improving their life. They wait for a new year, a new job, a better mood, or someone to encourage them. But those who grow know that there's no right time. The only time is now. They don't depend on motivation. They depend on habits. They don't hope things will get better. They become better because they understand that life does not reward intention. It rewards execution. They are not waiting for a breakthrough. They are becoming the kind of person who creates breakthroughs. They take responsibility for their learning, for their discipline, for their energy. They don't rely on the world to train them. They train themselves. Growth is not always exciting. In fact, most of the time it's inconvenient. It shows up as waking up earlier than you want to. It looks like having the difficult conversation, taking the risk, making the sacrifice, and doing the thing that stretches you beyond your comfort zone. It's studying when others are relaxing. It's working on your craft when no one is watching. It's being honest with yourself about what needs to change, even when it's hard to admit. Growth requires humility. You have to be willing to say, I don't know enough. You have to be teachable. You have to be hungry enough to change and disciplined enough to sustain it. People who grow on purpose are not perfect, but they are intentional, They don't expect progress to fall into their lap. They set goals, track their habits, learn from failure, and stay focused. They protect their time. They guard their attention. They surround themselves with people who stretch their thinking, not just those who flatter their ego. They don't seek comfort. They seek challenge because they understand that challenge is what makes them better. There is no growth without resistance. A tree does not grow strong in a greenhouse. It grows strong against the wind. It's easy to wish for a better life. It's easy to imagine a stronger, wiser, more confident version of yourself. But the person you want to become is not hiding in a wish. That person is hiding in your daily choices. Every time you choose to do what needs to be done instead of what's convenient, you grow. Every time you say no to distractions and yes to discipline, you grow. Every time you act with intention, even when no one sees the effort, you grow. And those moments compound. They build. They form a new version of you. One that wasn't found but created. If you want to change your life, don't wait for inspiration. Create a system. Build a routine that supports who you want to become. Make growth a habit, not a hobby. Don't just hope you'll grow into your potential. Design your life around it. Study, reflect, take action, and repeat. That's the path. Not flashy, but effective. Not easy, but transformational. Because when you grow on purpose, life doesn't just happen to you. You begin to shape it into something meaningful, something powerful, something built by your own hands. Everyone wants to meet someone who inspires them, someone with wisdom, integrity, strength, kindness, and purpose. We admire those who radiate confidence, who walk with clarity, who speak with intention, and live with conviction. We look up to people who carry themselves with calmness in chaos, who lead without needing a title, who uplift others without seeking praise. But what we often forget is that we have the ability to become that very person. The person you wish would walk into your life is the person you have the power to become. You don't need to wait for inspiration to arrive in the form of someone else. You need to step forward and start becoming it yourself. Too many people sit on the sidelines of their own lives, waiting for someone to come change their story. They want a mentor, a hero, a leader, a partner to show up and make things clearer, easier, more exciting. But the reality is that greatness doesn't come from meeting someone else. It comes from meeting a better version of yourself. A version that doesn't avoid responsibility. A version that chooses growth. A version that lives by values rather than feelings. That person isn't found by luck. That person is built by design. Built by waking up every day and deciding to act as if the future you already exists, and then behaving like it. Becoming the person you wish to meet means taking ownership of your influence. You may not have a title or a following or a platform, but you have something far more powerful. Your example. People aren't impacted by your opinions. They're impacted by your consistency. They don't remember your intentions. They remember your actions. Becoming someone worth meeting doesn't mean being perfect. It means being committed. It means doing the work when it's boring. It means choosing to speak truth when silence would be easier. It means showing up when it's inconvenient. It means choosing humility over ego, responsibility over excuses, discipline over distractions. We admire leaders who listen before they speak. We respect those who show up prepared. We value people who do the right thing even when it costs them. But are we willing to become that person ourselves? The real test of maturity is not how well you can recognize greatness in others. It's how seriously you take your role in becoming great yourself. It's easy to watch from afar and wish. It's much harder to look in the mirror and work. Becoming that person means asking yourself, if someone followed my example every day, where would their life end up? That question is not meant to shame you. It's meant to sharpen you. Growth is not about achieving a title. It's about aligning your behavior with your values. It's about letting go of who you've been and stepping into who you're becoming. And the moment you stop waiting for someone else to model it for you is the moment you begin to lead yourself. That's when you begin to attract better relationships, better opportunities, and better outcomes. Not because you chased them, but because you became someone worth finding. People are drawn to authenticity, to discipline, to character, to vision. These are not traits you stumble upon. These are traits you build day by day, decision by decision. Becoming the person you wish to meet also means becoming someone who can stand alone when needed. Strength doesn't come from crowds. It comes from conviction. When you walk in alignment with your purpose, when you act with integrity behind closed doors, when you pursue excellence, even when no one notices, you are becoming that person. And the world may not recognize it immediately, but over time it will. The influence you build through character will outlast talent, charisma, and popularity. It's slow, but it's real, and it's rare. That's why it's so valuable. Every time you resist the temptation to complain, every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you show kindness without expectation, you're stepping closer to that ideal version of yourself. You're building credibility with the one person whose trust matters most to you. That trust becomes your strength. That strength becomes your impact. And that impact becomes your legacy. You don't need to be discovered. You need to be developed. And you are the one who must do the developing. Not someday. Now, you already have the blueprint inside you. You already know the kind of person you respect, admire, and wish to meet. So now the question is, what are you doing today to become them? When you stop searching and start building, life begins to shift. When you choose to sculpt your character rather than wait for it to emerge, you take the first step toward lasting transformation. When you understand that your decisions hold more power than your environment, you stop making excuses and start making progress. When you embrace responsibility as the birthplace of power, you unlock a strength that no external force can give you. When you treat growth as something intentional rather than accidental, your days become a workshop for becoming, not just surviving. And when you make the bold choice to become the person you've always hoped to meet, you no longer live in the shadow of potential. You step into it. This is the essence of creation. This is how you build a life that isn't found, but forged. A life that doesn't just happen to you, but happens because of you.